Hi, I'm Kristen Amdahl with Red Heart Yarns. Today we're going to talk about a knit pattern called the Sunset Wrap, which features a Boutique Treasure yarn, which is a very subtle self-striping yarn. And this shawl has been designed to feature how the yarn changes color subtly, and by knitting it in different directions, it really shows the different types of striping when really it's the same exact stitch pattern but worked in multiple directions to create all of the patterning that you see. The stitch pattern is also a little unique for this pattern in the respect that it does have a right and wrong side to it, but it's an odd number of rows. So by alternating or by repeating the 7-row repeat, it has a right side facing on the first repeat, then the wrong side facing on the next repeat. So by doing that, it looks reversible on both sides, or it looks identical on both sides, but not because it looks the same on each side of the repeat, but because the repeats alternate right and wrong side. So let me show you how to do those 7 rows. Now this is a pattern that's also non-curling, which means that you don't need to put an edging on it. It will lay flat regardless of how many stitches you add, and it has it's a multiple of 2 stitches, so you can cast on as many stitches and either make headband, scarf, or the wrap, or even a larger shawl. I'm going to cast on 8 stitches just to show you the repeat. Now, if you were to do 8 stitches at home, you could make a headband, a belt, or a skinny shawl, or a skinny scarf, or you would cast on 30 stitches to do the actual center panel of this wrap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Row 1, and then we have a knit stitch on either side of the repeat, so this would actually be a multiple of 2 plus 2 for 1 edge stitch on each side. We're going to knit 1, then the repeat for the pattern is a yarn over knit 1 across to the last stitch. So yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, into the last stitch, and we'll just knit the last stitch. Then the second row, turn our work, we're going to knit the first stitch. We're going to knit the first and last stitch of every row regardless of what the pattern is. Row 2 is to purl across to the last stitch, because on the following row we're now going to decrease that back down to our original stitch count. We're going to knit the first and last stitch of every row like we've done in the past, so knit 1, and then we're going to knit 2 together across the row, inserting our right hand needle from left to right from the second stitch through the second and first together, yarn over, pull through both, and slide both off the needle. I'll do that slowly again, and you're going to do that across the entire row, knit 2 together until you get to the last stitch. By adding this volume in the first couple of rows, it really makes our cast on edge really stretchy, and because of that I will be showing you a very special loose bind off at the end as well. Okay, so rows 1, 2, and 3 are complete. Row 4 is a knit 1, yarn over, knit 2 together across the row, yarn over, passing our yarn to the front of the work, then knit 2 together, which is what we just did on the previous row. And you're going to repeat that across this entire row. So row 4 and 5 are identical. It's knit 1, yarn over, knit 2 together across the row, knit 1. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you row 6 and 7. Okay, so I've finished both rows. Now row 6 is just to knit straight across the row, and so is knit 7. So go ahead and just knit across both rows 6 and 7, and we'll carry on from there. Okay, I've finished rows 6 and 7, and so now to go forward, you know everything you need to know to get started on the shawl. You're going to repeat rows 1 through 7 through the remainder of the center panel, and once you repeat rows 1 through 7, you're going to repeat rows 1 through 3 one more time before binding off. And let me show you that specialty bind off stitch that I was talking about. In order to create a very loose bind off, I alternate a yarn over between the knit stitches before binding off. And let me show you how to do that. You're going to knit the first stitch, then we're going to yarn over, knit the next stitch, and then you're going to take your left hand needle, insert it into the yarn over and the first stitch, pass both of those up and over the second stitch and off the needles like that. We're going to yarn over, knit the next stitch, and then pass the yarn over and knit one up and off the needles over the second stitch. And just as a tip for this stitch is that when you yarn over and knit one, before you use your left hand needle to pass them over, I pull the body of work down a little bit with my right thumb and index finger just to give me a little more space to find the loops, because the yarn over and the stitch are kind of angled a little bit differently. So then I pull them up and over the second stitch and off. And you'll see that that gives you a very loose bind off, which is very close to the cast on edge that we have from that voluminous first 2 rows after the cast on. So once you get to that point, you're going to have a section like this. And then what I've already started here is I've already started one side of the side edging, which was picking up and knitting into the side of the existing work. To make it a little easier, I did block this a little bit just so that you can see the stitches a little better, because what you're going to want to do is pick up and knit into every other stitch approximately. And if you notice, I haven't blocked this again now, but these will both be approximately the same size when they're done. All right, so if you look along this edge here, you can see that there are bumps. There was a knit, and then the knit on the wrong side shows the purl bump for the other side. So you're going to work into every other row, and you're going to insert your needle, wrap the yarn around, and pick up a stitch. And you just want to do that evenly across. Now when you know how many approximately you're going to need, you could put stitch markers or safety pins in between sets of 10 or sets of 12 just to make sure that you're staying on track, because it would be unfortunate if you got all the way across and realized you were over or under by 20 stitches. So if you need to check back and make sure that you're working evenly, it is a good idea to check yourself as you go, but just approximately every 2 rows, and you want to do it pretty close to the end. Because this is a reversible pattern, I like to try to keep this very close to the last stitch so that the ridge on the wrong side isn't too great. Once it's blocked, this particular one, by going really close to the edge, if you notice, it's not very noticeable, especially with the texture of the stitches. It stays relatively unnoticeable on the wrong side. So once you finish that, you'll bind off that the same way we bound off the last row of the center panel, and then pick up and knit again along the short ends and work the ribbing, and then bind off that one the same way. The sunset wrap pattern and many more are available on the website, so please come check it out at redheart.com.